name is AB. I'm from North Oakland, and I studied public health and public policy at Berkeley, so totally unrelated to farming. I got into farming when I went on the alternative break. I worked on a farm in New Orleans, so it was kind of a roundabout way to farm making food systems, and when I was here at Berkeley, I really didn't do much with food systems. So I'll tell you a story about how the farm started. Kind of the genesis story of the farm. So the first thing that happened was we were passing out food, and it was, hot dogs and soups. And I am a farmer, so I felt like a hypocrite to pass out food that might not have been the healthiest for the people. It became apparent that we needed access to land to really not only give access to healthy foods to the houseless people, but then also the communities, because that was also another gap that we realized. We began to try to find land, and eventually found a connection with Fannie Lou Hamer Black Research Center to come to this land. And that's kind of like how it evolved. Just out of the contradiction that everybody needs access to healthy foods, and at people's programs, we don't just realize contradictions and just idealize them. We put our feet on the ground and we get to it. So once we realized that was a contradiction, we marched ahead and we found land to actually actualize and materialize this and make sure that people have access to healthy foods. One of our biggest things at people's programs is that when people come to the land, that they are able to learn the farming skills. Another thing that we do at people's programs is all of the grocery families, all the people that we serve, we constantly invite them to the land so that they can also learn. That's important, right? I think about food autonomy and think about food sovereignty. It doesn't work unless people are also having access to grow their own food, right? So we talk about food sovereignty, but we need to talk about land sovereignty, because people need access to land to grow their own food. And that's one of the cornerstones of the ideology around food sovereignty, that people need to grow their own food, we need to localize the food, and that farmers should have autonomy over what they grow. One thing about being in a community-based organization for as long as I've been is being able to really survey the terrain in the land and make honest decisions about what the people I'm serving need. I think also just like hard work. I think sometimes like in other sectors you can just kind of like relax and chill, but when you're that close to the people you're serving and you're every day reminded of what they actually need, you know how much work you have to do. So I'm a hard worker, just off the strength that I know that people need things, because I see it. So hard work is inevitable when you see it every day. The reason why People's Programs remains a community-based organization rather than any other entity, we want to give people what they need, no questions asked. And I feel like that's one of the biggest differences between a nonprofit or even a for-profit and a community-based organization, right? The relationship I have here at OT, AxoTrack, and the relationship with the other farmers that have the privilege of working land and they have autonomy, they go hand in hand. When you are able to understand the value of land as wellness and having autonomy over your food as wellness, then you understand why it's so important for us to have that same respect for farmers and to bring that full circle and to localize our food systems, right, and give farmers the autonomy to grow culturally relevant food. That all plays a huge role in our community wellness, but then also our farmers' wellness. First thing I'll say to a young farmer that's just leaving college is don't settle for a job that you're not learning or getting paid enough to live, right? We do understand that the farm world, farmers in general, is not a very lucrative job for a lot of people. And there's ways to make it lucrative. So my other thing I'll say is look into value-added products like pickles, soap, salves, like, tea blends, right? Find the value-added products that are lucrative, because, you can sell a cucumber for cents on the dollar, and then you can sell a pickle for way more. Pickles are a hot thing right now. Kimchi, right? All of these like things that are kind of like hot commodities, find ways as farmers to learn how to do them and sell them. I love talking about food sovereignty, and it's very important that we talk about land sovereignty before we ever talk about food sovereignty. Having access to food is just one part of the problem. People not having access to land is obviously the biggest problem. So all the folks out there that are focused on giving access to food or getting culturally relevant food, I want folks to also think about what does it mean to give people access to land. So all the people out there that have all this land, all this acreage, tap in. Find some farmers that need access to land and help out the real way and give us land.